So in this video, we are going to see a Republican donor and a friend of Donald Trump's struggle to justify Donald Trump's tariffs that is imposed on the entire world. As usual, let's watch the video in full and I'll give you my thoughts towards the end.
But before these guys came into the studio, I spoke to the US businessman Hal Lambert. He's the CEO of Pont Bridge Capital. He's a big supporter of Donald Trump. In fact, he helped to organize his first inauguration. And I asked him if all the turmoil we've seen on the markets today is all part of the plan.
I think you're going to see a lot of things happen over the next, let's call it 60 days, as countries reach out to President Trump and try to negotiate some changes to the tariffs. You saw the Saudis and OPEC decided to increase production. So I think you're going to see energy prices drop globally. So I predict that actually prices begin to come down globally, which will enable the Fed to cut interest rates. And I think ultimately you're going to look out, a year from now, and this is just going to be a blip.
A $5 trillion blip.
Well, in the context of, $100 trillion global economy.
What makes you so confident that interest rates are going to come down in the US? Because Jay Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, the man who decides what interest rates are, did a speech today where he said these tariffs are bigger than he expected, so therefore inflation might be higher than you would expect and economic growth might be lower. And that doesn't seem like a recipe for then interest rates to be lower.
Well, Jay Powell's been wrong quite a bit. We'll see what he does, but the reason I'm pretty confident that inflation is going to come down and not go up is a couple of things. One, energy prices are going to drop. The other thing is that Biden administration put literally over $1 trillion of new regulations into the U.S. economy just in 2024. Those are not going to go into effect. Those are going to be pulled out. Those costs are going to come out of the economy. And that's why I predict that inflation actually comes down.
You talked about how you think this could all bottom out in about 60 days' time. If in 2 months' time, actually, things are still looking like they're looking today and there's chaos and people are losing a ton of money, would you think it's a point to maybe revisit the strategy?
Obviously, you're not going to have 4 and 5% drops in the market every day from now till 60 days from now. We go to zero pretty quickly. So, Trump is focused right now on Main Street and not on Wall Street. And, Wall Street's going to be okay.
But is this a gamble by President Trump, or is it guaranteed to succeed? Because if you're talking about 3 to 5 year timelines there, this needs to be a strategy that could work rather than taking a chance.
I wouldn't call it a gamble. He's not doing this lightly. He certainly watches the stock market because he's talked about it. I think it's actually a bold move. He's willing to take this short-term pain that's happening, certainly with people's 401ks and IRAs, there's pain there. And he's willing to do that for the longer term benefit.
Do you think there's a danger he was maybe a bit dishonest during the election campaign? Because he talked about the first half, about making everyone richer. He didn't talk so much about the pain bit.
Well, no, I don't think he was dishonest. Look, he's talked about tariffs for 30 years. What I'm more surprised about is it looks like the stock market didn't believe him. Because the movement in it in the last 2 days, I mean, he has telegraphed this pretty heavily that this was coming, and yet you would have thought that no one realized he was serious, that this was just.
He didn't telegraph the scale, though, did he?
He didn't telegraph that, and I think the other thing that was maybe a little surprising was kind of the global 10%, like you said.
And just quickly before we go, is the real deal here actually to get the value of the dollar down, which then ultimately could help America pay its colossal government debts?
I think there is a goal of getting lower interest rates. We've got, $35 trillion debt. So, every move down in interest rates saves a lot of money from a debt servicing standpoint. So getting interest rates lower is certainly a factor that needs to happen. And again, I think that ultimately happens with lower inflation. Look, just one quick example. I have a friend of mine that has a small aerospace parts business. They were literally days away from their UK company, by the way, was going to move their manufacturing from this company in the United States to India. And with these tariffs, they just came back to him yesterday and said, never mind, we're going to keep it with you guys.
Well, thanks for your time tonight. I'll let you get back to your trading in bank stocks.
One of the things for me that is just so crazy is, why is it that you always see Donald Trump supporters struggle to defend a lot of the nonsense that he does? It's one of the things that I've always noticed. You can actually see in this video, you can just tell just by his body language, he's struggling to defend certain things. He really is. Now, there was one thing that it is that he said where I'll actually give him a little bit of props. One of the things that he'd done and that he spoke about is he discussed, well, I don't understand why people like didn't believe him. Donald Trump has been speaking about tariffs. He has been doing that. He literally done it during the campaign leading up to him winning the election. He spoke about tariffs. And the unfortunate reality is that those of us here on this side, even though I obviously didn't vote because I'm not American, but people that are on this side of thinking believed exactly what he said. But people that are on the other side of thinking didn't believe what he said. And now you have those people who didn't believe what he said now looking and questioning and being frustrated. Hence the reason why we're seeing mass protests across the whole of the United States of America. Mass protests across the whole of the United States of America. We're literally seeing it. Simply because of the fact that the things that it is that Donald Trump is doing isn't giving what he promised. Now, yes, he definitely did speak about tariffs multiple times. He also spoke about Americans being richer, more well off, and better off, and making America great again. But the way that he's going about doing that is actively leaving people's 401ks in a worse off situation, is putting people's social security at risk. And you have Donald Trump's lackeys, his minions, running around here and saying a social security check coming late shouldn't and won't be a problem. This is what Donald Trump's supporters are actively going out there and what it is that they voted for. This is what it is that they voted for. And now you can see so many of them going back on what it is that they said because they didn't think nothing bad would happen to them. They thought it would happen to immigrants. They thought it would happen to the LGBTQ community. They thought it would happen to the trans community. But it's happening to them as well. And that's the reason as to why a lot of them don't regret the fact that they voted for Donald Trump. They're just angry and upset about the fact that what Donald Trump is doing is actively hurting them. Actively hurting them. Donald Trump supporters cannot hide, and this is the reason why they struggle to answer questions. You saw the body language of this Donald Trump supporter and this Republican donor here. You literally saw his body actions, and you could see that he was even uncomfortable answering some of the questions, saying that the current situation is just a blip, and then the presenter returns back to him a $5 trillion blip. Embarrassing stuff. But no shock or no surprise. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below this video. As usual, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're not part of the family, go below and hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notification so you get notified every time I upload. And then last but not least, hit that thumbs up button purely for the YouTube algorithm. Let's get this video in front of as many people as possible. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.